What's up, everybody?
Chop. Come on, guys.
Let's go. On Locked On
We got
Badgers.
it.
Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a victory celebration. We got the axe, Locked On Badgers. I'm sorry this is late, by the way. I had a
Bring the energy, man. Come on, up it a little bit.
My day's been crazy, but we beat the Gophers. We got the axe. Let's go. You know it's one of these moments.
This is awesome.
We beat them
Good
soundly.
day for me. Come on in here, buddy.
Oh, Grandpa
Get up on that line.
Let's stop that. So really quickly, I've had this for 2 years, and I've been waiting to break this out so I could put it on my thing, but we hadn't earned it. I couldn't put it up on my shelf until we actually earned it. So now this goes on the shelf.
Yes.
So you're gonna create a little PJ Fleck case where you
How's
put
that?
it in when we lose?
It's not going to end up in the bed. It's going to stay on the shelf.
No.
Let's go.
I would like to think you could find something more appropriate.
Guys, thoughts?
I mean, listen, this is what we as fans have been. We deserve this. We've had a really tough year. We've had all kinds of things that just didn't go our way. We played horrific football against Indiana Northwestern, but this is what it was about. I said all year that I cared about improvement. I cared about performance. But you know what I cared about today? Winning. I don't care what I saw. I just wanted the axe. And it was incredible, man. It was so good. And listen, you guys all laughing for my 31-13 prediction. It was pretty close, by the way. I mean, I think that and we put it all together. We put it together at the last game of the season. Yes, the early start was the start was not good. We gave up that immediate touchdown, but you know what? We fought back. Braelon Allen, Hunter Wohler, they looked incredible. Tanner Mordecai played well. It's what we've needed. It's the one thing we wanted this year. The one thing we said, you can't have a successful season if you don't win this game. And whether it's a successful season, we can debate that. But I am so happy that the axe is home and PJ Fleck can just shut his mouth. And it's amazing. I'm on top of the world, baby. Go Badgers.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just say flat out, this is probably the best performance we've had all season. 28-14 against a team that we've really struggled with the last couple of years for whatever ungodly reason. They played hard today. They played well. Braelon, great game today. Offensive line, great game today. We gashed them a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And Mordecai had all day. So it's really hard to look negatively at this. I mean, there's obviously, I'm sure we could, pick it apart if we really wanted to, but this is a great performance in a game like this that we truly needed. And we also got to see just how awful Minnesota actually is this season, which, by the way, I hit on my prediction for them, which was 5-7 to start the season.
There we go.
Didn't get there the way I expected them to, but they got the 5-7 that I was expecting.
How about,
Eat it, Peach.
How about going on the road, beating a team that absolutely needed a victory? Of course, we fell down again on a deficit, talking about things that need to get corrected off season because there's something systemic there, guys. Like if it happens once, twice, it's one thing. It happened continually. That's something the coaches got to figure out going into next year. But Minnesota needed this game. They had to win this game to go to a bowl game. We stole their bowl appearance. PJ would have made a ring for that. We stole their practices. We went on their turf and took the axe back. Like, I know this season kind of sucked in ways. Like, this was not a good year for what we wanted, but this is a great way to finish the regular season.
It couldn't have been better, honestly, to take a bowl game away from them. Honestly, that is the greatest feeling in the world. And it just sink the boat, man. It's so great. And yeah, going on the road and winning this means so much more. It just does. Like doing what we did. And yeah, you know what? There was some hiccups in the systemic thing you mentioned, but I will say this. It was the first half against Indiana Northwestern. Then it was the first quarter against Nebraska. And then after they scored 7 points, we tightened up. And we didn't just give up easy. Now we did give up 14, but the defense did exactly what they need to do. And I just wish we could keep playing a little bit because I almost feel like there's some improvement happening with this defense that now the bowl game is where we'll show it. But yeah, kudos to them. I mean, it's so sweet to do that. 5-7, suck it. Honestly, Minnesota, Like I can't with you. I can't PJ Fleck. I am so incredibly happy about this game that I'm looking forward to the bowl game. I'm looking forward to talking about everything now. This is what we deserved, and we got it.
I want to really quickly, just because if you guys are on Twitter, Coach Anderson comes on the show. He had a bit of a family emergency. He's taking care of that. He has jumped in here. He said, can't wait to break this game down.
Hope everything's well, Derry Raid. Hope everything's well.
Thoughts, hopes, prayers, whatever it is that you all have, send those to Coach Anderson. Great dude, great Badger fan, but a better dude. So I hope that everything is going well there, my friend. I don't know which one you start this one, but it's great. Zach Bart says PJ will make a ring for 5-7 bowl eligibility runner up. So true. Guys, it just honestly, like, we're 7-5, but winning, like Rajiv, you said it. You beat the Gophers, you get the axe. I mean, that transcends in some ways anything else. Like, this was such a big game. You had to
absolutely. And we need it. I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like, I know that, like, the thing that I've been thinking about is watching Northwestern and Indiana be horrible, by the way. I mean, I don't know if I think Northwestern might have ended up winning, but Indiana lost on the road to Purdue, a team that we pummeled. And it's just, it means that the season could have been that much better had we just not lost those two ridiculous games. But I will give the team credit. After those two games, we thought there is no way we're going to beat Nebraska and Minnesota. And there was no way we were going to see performances that kind of, and we got better. We fought against Nebraska, won in overtime, and then today we laid it all out there. I mean, they wanted it. You talk about heart and passion. I talk about that a lot because that's what I want to see out of my boys. That is what we saw today. Those guys wanted that axe. They wanted to run over to the end of the field and pull that thing out and chop that goalpost, and it showed from minute one. Maybe not minute one with the defense, but I think the coaches had a good game. I think the offense had a good game. I think the defense had a good game. I think special teams pretty good. It's just, we finally put it together, and we actually had a comfortable win. I said on the Discord when it was 21-14, I thought, are we this team that can actually go out and go up 28 and actually put up another touchdown and take control of the game for the first time, by the way, since the Purdue game that we've been up 14 points? Like, that has not happened for weeks. Every single week we have been fighting tooth and nail. We've been, sitting on the edge of our seats thinking, are we even going to win this game? But today we actually got to breathe a little bit and enjoy this huge, huge victory.
Yeah, I find it hilarious that every time we thought we knew something about this team, it basically completely flipped. So every game that we felt that we had a chance, like we all went into the final four games figuring, the two games most likely to win are Northwestern and Indiana. We botched those two and end up winning the two tougher games that we saw. And it's like, what are we doing this year? Like, everything is, we just have no clue what's happening with this team. Ending the season on your best performance after we've all been sitting here like, what the heck is going on with this team? Why can't things just, seem to be clicking at all? And it seemed today, like, if we would have had longer, like, we easily could have punched it in late in this game to go up 3 touchdowns. Kind of wish we had. Kind of wish we had done
it right there for that we axed it comment. I want to take a quick break here because the next subject thing is going to take several minutes, and I don't want to get too long on it. I want to talk about Braelon Allen next, guys, because you talk about a player who at the middle of the season, Badger fans, it was a little maligned. I want to talk about Braelon Allen coming off that Nebraska game and this game. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at eBay Motors. eBay Motors is the #1 place to get all your car parts. It's where I go to fix all my vehicles when I run into guardrails. I've hit the same guardrail twice, actually. It's not great. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. I've also run my car into a tree. For those of you who are everydayers, you know that story, to get out of getting yelled at for being late to a job. It wasn't just any job. It was a Navy job, and my chief was a crazy person. So eBay Motors is the place to go to get all your car parts for your ride or die. Over 122 million parts for your #1 ride or die. You'll find exactly what you need. Guaranteed fit, whatever you need. Exhaust kits, LED headlights, it's all there, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that automatic win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, guys, let's talk about BA. Because if you go back 3 weeks ago, before Nebraska and before Minnesota, the narrative here is very different, right? Mm-hmm. People are a little frustrated. Maybe we built the expectations up too high. Braelon's own words were kind of used against him. He wanted to be kind of in that pantheon of great Badger running backs, which is fine. Like, that's what players should want to do. And then he gutted out Nebraska, and he was the best player in the field today by far. Like, he was easily the best player in the field.
He had what, 3 runs over 25 yards?
He looked
Something
explosive.
Like yeah. I didn't think he didn't look like we've seen him early in the season when he was healthy, but he definitely looked miles ahead of where he was last week. Last week, you could tell that he was just grinding out whatever he could do. Today, he had a little bit more, a little more juice in the step, and it definitely paid off, especially on that first touchdown when he ran around the edge. And seeing Tyler Nubin, the all-star that Minnesota fans call him, the next great NFL. I think weren't they projecting him as a first rounder earlier in the year?
Yep.
Yeah. And then he completely takes a bad angle and Braelon just kind of casts him off on his way to the end zone. I love it.
2 weeks ago after the Northwestern game, there was obviously you heard Hunter Wooler's comments. There was comments by Fickell. There were all kinds of, rumors of player meetings and things like this. And, it was talked about, like Hunter Wooler said in his post-game interview, about who wants to be here, who wants to play, or who wants to fight. Well, let me tell you something about Braelon Allen. He showed that, right? And whether he was one of the people that was not or whatever, we don't know, right? We don't know what's in the locker room, but we do know that he responded by playing hurt last week and then giving it his all today. And you're right. You said it correctly, being the best player on the field, 100%. He was basically unstoppable. And credit to Yakimelli too, by the way. I think he played well and gave it his all without Aker. But Braelon Allen was a machine. I mean, 26 carries, 165 yards, averaged 6.3 yards per carry. I mean, what more do you want from this guy? We've talked about stepping up all year. Well, he stepped up. The whole team stepped up. And that's exactly what we've been wanting. How many times have we come on this reaction show and just been upset and pissed off and just and questioning the effort and questioning all this thing? And every single thing was just constantly a negative. Well, Braelon Allen turned it into a positive today. And there were a lot of guys other than Braelon Allen, but I want him to be here. I think he does bring, he is in that staple of great running backs in Wisconsin history. And maybe he doesn't have the big gaudy numbers, but the guy's awesome. And I know that there are some injury concerns and he has that, but when he's healthy and when he plays hard, my gosh, you're really hard pressed to find someone who is, anywhere in the Big Ten who is at that level. He did an incredible job, so he deserves so much credit.
Yeah, for GPA here, BA used the axe to chop. Is he gone? Typically, that is something that historically we've seen. If a player does it, it normally means that they're an outgoing senior or somebody who is unlikely to be with the team the following year. So if it holds true, most likely, I think a lot of people see the writing on the wall with him. He's a running back. Those guys only have so many miles on them. It's very hard to keep stacking up years. I know this year wasn't probably what he wanted to end on, but I'd be really shocked if he doesn't go to the NFL after this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, what's the point? If you're Braelon Allen, I don't think you're going to have a lot better film next year. Maybe you get hurt again. You get more hits on your body. You got to go.
Yeah, he's not going to improve his draft stock by coming out. Let's be honest.
So. Yeah, I think you got to
go. And he's young too, going into the league, so that's something that will be viewed as a plus for him.
Yeah, guys. I'm curious where you guys were on Tanner Mordecai today, because the Tanner Mordecai thing is interesting to me, because I think I've come away from, now the season's officially wrapped, right? I come away from the season respecting the hell out of his toughness, being really impressed with his mobility. Like he left a couple dudes in the dust today in the open field, but the dude misses so many throws. I'm just curious where you guys are after this game, because you can't question the toughness with Mordecai.
I think for me, you're right. Like, and he has attributes that other people don't have. Like the way he runs the ball is obviously very, very powerful. He's just not the guy that we necessarily hoped he'd be as far as accuracy. He's 63% today, 14 to 22, 145. But yeah, he misses throws. He misses deep balls. He throws behind guys on crossing routes a lot. But I think that he's been a good caretaker of the program. He's 6-3 as a starter. So, I mean, I feel like he's been fine, and he's not going to be here next year. I think he deserves to play in the bowl game. He's earned that. He should be there as much as I definitely was one who said I wanted Braden Locke to start, and I still think he should have been starting the last few weeks. But credit to Mordecai. He toughed it out. And is he the greatest quarterback we've ever seen? No. Is he the guy that we expected when he transferred? No. But he won us 6 games as a starter. He's doing his job, and he does provide a weapon in his legs that other quarterbacks don't have. And let's tell you, it was nice to see that today. He did what he had to do. Now, I do yell at my TV a lot to throw the dang ball, and I really wish he would a little more, but that's just who he is, and we have to accept it. But, He's winning more than he's losing, and I give the guy credit.
Yeah, I want to follow up on this comment because actually I was just about to make a point before I saw this. Ryan Dexheimer. Mordecai is just Jack Cohn 2.0, except Cohn was a better passer and Mordecai a better runner. I actually feel if Mordecai was the passer that Jack Cohn was, we're probably 11-1 this year. We probably don't lose another game if he's that capable of a passer, especially with his legs. So he was very underwhelming passing wise compared to what I expected him to be coming into the season. That said, he does have a lot of toughness and he's a heady guy. He's a guy who plays his butt off, but you could definitely see his limitations as a passer as this entire season. And that held this team back to an extent. There were a lot of things that we were left wanting this season when you look at this team, but that was an area that really hurt us this year. We could have covered up a lot with an above-average quarterback.
Dark Ray says, do you guys still think Mordecai is the best quarterback since Russ? Before the season, we had talked about this should be the best quarterback fit. I mean, we projected it, but no, Cohn was a better quarterback. I think you can make. I mean, it's
not close.
Yeah, it didn't. We listen. The anticipation, Justin, you were on this early. He just doesn't throw people open. They have to be wide open.
He doesn't see it unless it's already there, and at that point, you've already taken away what the impact of that play is because normally the defense is reacting already at that point.
That became so apparent to me when I watched him in person at the Purdue game, and it was like, wow, the guys are open for a short time. Now it's not they're not getting a ton of separation. Let's be honest, but he needs to release that thing because when Braden Locke started playing, he did release that. That was a big change.
But we got the win. Like that's
and he played great. Like, listen, he's a limited player, but he played his butt off to what his ability level is.
This is not a season where we got to celebrate a lot. It's not. I mean, it's been a season of disappointment. So let's take the win and let's enjoy it. Let's celebrate it, right? I mean, I did a little short on our channel right after the game, and I was just like, we just did what we needed to do. Let's celebrate it. We don't get many of these. And frankly, for 2 straight years, we've ended the season with a humongous disappointment. So I'm really, really impressed and proud of our team and proud of Luke Fickell and for him, motivating these guys and getting them up for these last 2 rivalry games after what we saw in those Indiana Northwestern games that we thought that was maybe the lowest point. Justin and I titled our show one of the worst losses in 25 years. And look what we've done after that. Look what we did coming back from that and how we gritted out 2 good wins. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Rajiv, because at the end of the day, there's a lot to take. Every win and every loss, we talk about this a lot. Unless you beat a team 59-0, I probably shouldn't throw that number out there. But every win or loss, there's good and bad. Like there's going to be time to dissect the bad in this game, but I don't really care about that right now. I care about we beat Minnesota, we got the axe. The Flexer's not going bowling. Braelon Allen had a huge game. We went on their turf and beat them, and that's all I care about. Like we got I almost just swore. We got the freaking axe, and I have an axe on my shelf now. That thing's been collecting dust for 2 years, y'all. Let's go.
You've inspired me to order one on my own, and I already did that. And I ordered the slab of bacon, and I ordered
trophy books,
and I ordered the Christmas tree ornament of the axe. So very excited about those things to show up.
Tell me you didn't get the Freedom Trophy.
No, actually, I would have. Truthfully, I would have because
get it full sized.
It's not available on the site that I looked at. The Heartland Trophy is available, and I'm not getting that.
That's because it's not a rivalry.
But I mean, yeah. But I probably would have. But yeah, I'm with you on the axe. I think that's a pretty cool thing.
We'll take one more quick break. Get into a bunch of your comments, including one that says maybe Mentor is going to be the starting quarterback next year. Justin, thoughts? Let's talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your number one source for all your job hiring. I've talked about how the way we use it, my company uses it. It is an incredible professional networking tool. And it's, again, just you have to make the right hires for a small business. You can't mess it up. It's like recruiting. You got to bring in the right pieces to build the championship team. Justin and Rajiv know that. That's what LinkedIn is for. And it's, again, something I use to just increase my professional network. And if you're a hiring manager, they have screening tools. Justin has told me this several times. It's the colander. I think I got it now. That keeps the spaghetti in the thing and the water drains out. That's what LinkedIn is. It's the job colander. It keeps the quality people like Justin Rajiv in the bowl, and the people like me just kind of run down the drain. That's what it's there for. That's what LinkedIn Jobs is there for. And you have a great new offer right now with Locked On. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, guys, what do we got on starred comments here?
So, Chris Nitupski says, I have the axe and the bacon ornaments. We live in a divided house. They face red or W when we win. I waited about 8 seconds after the game to run to the tree. Good job, man. This is an interesting one that I found. I'm curious your guys' take on this. Do we have the same record if Mertz stays? What do you think?
I bet you we have a better record. I bet you we win one more game.
I actually agree. I was going to say, I think we probably win one more.
Probably. I think this offense probably fits him a little better. The lack of poise with him is the thing that I question, and that's something that I'll always kind of take a look at and be like, it's so hard to quantify, like unless you see him in the game moment, like how he's going to react to a situation. Guy got tunnel vision all the time, and Mordecai does too. The difference was he's mobile enough that he'll just take off running. If he can't see it.
I think we've seen a version of Mertz in Florida this year where in a better offense, I just feel like we win at least one of Indiana Northwestern with that version of Mertz. But it's not dramatically better. Let's be honest. Yeah. He's not solving the defensive front seven issues or the receiving drops and all that stuff. So
this is a roster that needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah, slightly better, but not dramatically is where I would go.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
All right, let's see. If you guys have any other comments, I did find it interesting. Aaron Witt looking healthy and kind of bouncy around on the sidelines with the uniform on. Gentlemen, could we see Aaron Witt in the bowl game after like?
I mean, wouldn't that just be great? Can we see the guy? That'd be excellent. It was funny in the Discord. There were so many comments about Aaron Witt today. Every time you saw him on the sidelines, like Witt, get him in the game. It's nice. It's nice. No. It's nice that he's healthy and he's in uniform. That's great.
He was injured. He offered exactly what this team was missing this year, which is a guy who was capable of blowing up a tackle and just going by him. And he's been so far removed now. I don't know if we'll ever see him on the field again, but it's nice to see him at least being able to practice and everything.
Agreed. He certainly imagine if he can come back to the version of what he was. Like, it would be incredible. This defense needs that. Murph says, Justin, I love you.
You too, Murph.
That's all I got. A couple more comments about running backs. Running backs coming in next year. Ches coming back. What do you look at for the running back group next year? Yakimelli also had this from Jesse Wilder. He held his own. It's an interesting group because you got Yak coming back. I think Malusi's going to try to come back. You got the 3 freshmen coming in. You got Acker, who I thought showed flashes this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need a transfer running back anymore if Malusi comes back. That's kind of where I'm at.
I agree. If Malusi comes back, I don't think you need one because you've got the freshman, and I think Aker really deserves a good run of games. Let's be honest. Like the guy, he played well. If you have Malusi and Aker as your top 2 without even the freshman, and let's be honest, either one of those guys could be our leading rusher next year. And then you have Nate White. So I mean, that room is big enough where I don't think you need it because you've got Aker and Yak who have actual carries under their belt now, plus the freshman. If Malusi gets hurt again, I think you have enough back there that you don't need a transfer. That's my thought.
See, my thoughts on this are simple. I honestly, Malusi, with what he's gone through, I would hate to see him come back again and get injured. I think I'd prefer to get somebody from the outside. I don't see it with Acker or Yakimelli in terms of them being a substantial part of what we're looking to do. So I would, if it's me, I'm looking for a 1B type guy in the portal, a guy who can get you 15 to 20 carries, but that isn't capable of going off for 30 carries so that the young guys can get their feet wet, but you have somebody who's kind of your linchpin and center point to go with. I don't know if the other 2 guys are capable of being that type of back at all.
I think I'm a little higher on Yak than you are. I think we've talked about that before, though. I actually thought he looked solid today, and he's still a young guy. Now, he doesn't have the physical tools of a elite running back, but I think he's big enough. I think he's fast enough. I think he can catch the ball. I think there's something there.
I would rather focus in the portal elsewhere. I don't think that's the room that you really need to focus on in the portal. I think there are a lot of other rooms that need that.
Let me get into that because that leads into our next question. Joseph S says, he lists 4 positions. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys. If you could target 4 positions in the portal, what 4 positions would they be?
So I would agree that QB has to be on there because I think that while Braden Locke, I know that I'm all for Braden Locke playing next year, but I think you still need a veteran that can come in there and provide that depth. I think defensive line, 100%. Running back, I would not do. Tight end, I would agree with tight end. I mean, tight end, we have freshmen coming in. Ashcraft, I think, can develop. I think we're okay if we don't get tight end. But for me, linebacker, please. I mean, can we please get some middle linebackers on this team? That is something that needs to be focused on heavily in the portal, as far as I'm concerned. And the defensive front seven, like that, if that was the entire focus of the portal, I'd be okay with it if we got a lot of good players there, because that is the biggest glaring difference that I saw this year to every other Wisconsin team that we have come to know, is the front seven's inability to stop the run. That cannot happen any year that the Badgers are going to be successful. That has to be corrected.
The big ones for me, I would say, would be, I think you have to get somebody in that quarterback room that is capable of pushing at least to start, meaning somebody who has a solid chance, unless Locke is just really good in the spring, and you have him capable of being a very experienced backup, worst case. Now, that's going to be kind of hard to find. You're going to be looking for somebody who is potentially to start up, but you might be able to do it given the fact you would offer the opportunity to push to start. I think you have to look at defensive line would be huge. I question whether you can actually adequately build through the portal at that position. It's so tough to find people that are actually offer anything really. You might be able to find some pieces there that give you something, because right now I don't know how much we're actually getting there at all. And then linebacker, I like Allegro for next year, but bar him, I'm not really sure who in that group is going to be. Anelu is another guy who I think we think can offer something right off the bat, but they need to find guys who are capable of being decisive and instinctual, and it'll make them light years difference. Now, they were a little better in this game. So it's something that maybe it's just finally clicking, although we're at the end of the season now, and it's like, well, it took 12 games for us to finally figure out how to, play defense and be aggressive.
I think I agree with both of you guys. I think you got to hit quarterback. You have to. I think it's offensive line. You got to find a center.
There's two or three guys I think I could see coming in at that.
You got to find somebody on the offensive line.
Just guys who are used to playing in a spread offense.
Yeah, agreed. I think if you could list defensive line like 5 times, that's what I would do. But honestly, if you're going to go in our position, I think this team needs another receiver too. It
does. I was actually going to say that. I think you need to keep hitting on wide receiver until you find yourself a dude. And I think that those guys are people you can find in the portal, because there are players playing at lower school levels who are going to make the jump to try and boost their NFL stock, who are kind of fringe guys already. And if you look at what we've got, I would say right now, Pauling is the only guy that probably has a legitimate shot at the NFL. Yeah. The rest of the guys are looking at some camp invites.
I agree. I think that to me, that goes down the list a little bit. I mean, it's not as high priority as the other ones, but yeah, I think that's true. And the O-line is a really good one, especially center. I mean, good Lord, can we have some good snaps, please?
It'd be interesting to see if Bordeaux's even back. Like, I wonder if he tests the waters as a potential guard in the draft just after this year and say, I want to get back to move on. I don't want to play center next year again.
Well, who knows with Renfro, right? Like, honestly, we're not going to count on him, but JP says Renfro's an all Big Ten center next year. Like, maybe, but
but if he was an all Big Ten center next year, then he should have got some reps this year.
I would have figured we would have ran him out there for a drive or two, even though.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he seemed like he was healthy at some point.
Maybe, like, that's a weird one, right? At some point, maybe we'll get the full story on that one. Justin, Rajiv, a bunch of questions really quick on quarterback next year. Mabry, Locke, who's starting? Who would you give the inside track to right now? I know it's super early, but
it's Locke. Mabry, listen, I love his tools. I'm probably higher on him than just about anybody out there. Asking a guy to come in and do that right off the bat is asking a lot. And here's the biggest thing. In the games that I've seen him this year, and I've watched just about every game he's played, when he plays a team where the rest of his talent level around him is less than the team they're playing against, he's not a guy that's been able to elevate the other team. And what that tells me is he's a guy who's probably going to struggle a little bit when he gets to the college game, and it's kind of more of an even up when you look at offense and defense. Like in practice, he's probably going to, at Wisconsin, they're probably going to be about as even as it gets. He's going to struggle to make plays there until he realizes is really locked in the offense and knows where things are going to be or happening. And that's not typically a first-year guy coming in. It's normally a guy who's got a year in the system and understands what he's supposed to be doing.
Braden Locke played well down the stretch against Illinois, played decently well in the Ohio State game, and played horrible in the Indiana game. I think he deserves a chance, and I think he will be. I give the edge to him because he has reps under his belt, and I feel like the one thing we've seen this year is that guys with reps are going to be getting that. They're going to this coaching staff is prioritizing them, but sure, we'll see what happens in camp. I mean, if Evers takes big steps forward, I'm all for seeing Evers out there. I would love that.
I would love to see that too.
And if it's Mabry, that's fine, but it's not Mabry until we've seen him on campus and we see what he does, and we'll see in the spring game, and hopefully he's playing spring ball, and that'd be great to see. But yeah, I think it's Locke clearly just because he's got a few starts under his belt. I think he played well, and I think he deserves it. I mean, he came in and was a very serviceable backup to us, and I think that we all agreed that we wanted to see him play the rest of the season. So to me, it's clearly Locke and no one else right now.
Until he started throwing the balls into the defensive line's hands repeatedly, I was kind of on board with that, but I that is becoming an issue with him where I question if that's going to cost us games where we have 3 or 4 of those in a game, and it's like, who knows what we just missed on.
I mean, you got to think he's going to take a step up. But he had one bad game. He had one bad game, and it was a big bad game. But
yeah, but he didn't really have a good game though either, other than Illinois. Like he was solid, but it's not like he had a game where you look at it and you're like, okay, this guy's the dude.
I don't think he was bad against Ohio State. I think he deserves credit for playing that Ohio State defense.
I think I said he was solid. I just think that you look at that game and you're like, okay, well, it would have been nice to see the whole team. It would have been nice to see show some things, but we haven't seen enough of him being a positive for me to lock in and say he's a guy who should be the starter next year. And I think that's where it kind of gets. We're kind of in an area of the unknown with him.
Yeah, and I'm all for if someone comes out in camp and does a better job and plays, I'm all for that. I'm not saying he has to start.
Yeah,
the edge, you got to give the edge to him right now.
Oh, he's got that for sure. He's number one. He's going to be number one on the depth chart to start the spring. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I kind of have two thoughts with Locke. And by the way, the Modern Perennialist says I think Evers is mentally checked out of this team. What I can say is, from what I've heard, that's not the case. I'll throw that out there. So I kind of have 2 thoughts on Locke. The first is, Longo really likes him. I can tell you that for a fact. Yeah. And the fact that he got reps all year this year is only, in my opinion, going to further entrench him on that depth chart. Like, I will also say on the flip side, I question the ceiling of Braden Locke. I think if he fully develops, he can be a solid quarterback, but he's never going to be the biggest guy or the fastest guy or have the biggest arm, right? So even if you max out his reps and fully develop him, I question. That's where I struggle a little bit with Locke. I think the other guys probably have higher upsides, and I wonder if maybe if it makes sense. And again, obviously it doesn't DeLongo, at least this year, but if it makes sense to take some more lumps to hopefully realize a higher upside. But I don't know. I will say this: what I absolutely hope happens, and I think it will, because I think Longo wants competition, and quite frankly, it's better for Longo if we look better. Obviously, I hope it's an open. I hope everybody is competing next year. I don't think Locke did enough to certainly entrench himself as the number one.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I do. And listen, I would love to see Evers surprise us and surprise the coaching staff, whatever it is with him. You know, if he comes out and gives it his all, and I want to see him play spring ball. I want to see what kind of stories come out of practice. And yeah, there's still a lot of excitement with this team. I'm already excited for next season. I mean, like, I want to keep going. You know, I know. I'm still, even though we're 7-5. My point is, I'm still excited about what Fickell's building, and seeing these last 2 games and ending this season the way that we did, to me, goes a long way in my excitement for the future. Because if we lose these 2 games and we end the season 5-7, I don't know when I want to turn on a Badger game anymore. Like that, it just the way that we finished this year really does set things up as far as my fandom, and I think recruits and transfer portal stuff. There's a lot of things that get helped out by the way we ended the season. So there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, Badger Borkmouth says I don't think Evers will ever play here. I agree with that. It kind of breaks my heart because physically he's a stud, but I kind of agree with that. If I had to put money on it, that's where it's nothing personal. It's just a player with the same level as kind of jumped him.
Somebody mentioned it. I can't remember the name. That Matoya is enrolling early. That will be huge for him. We'll give him the opportunity to get through spring ball and be able to be prepped for fall. So maybe he'll push. I have nothing against that guy. He has all the physical tools in the world. It's asking a lot to be able to process at that high of a level, day one. And that's why we don't see a ton of guys come in unless the quarterback room is just bare. And I question whether our quarterback room is that bare. Now, he might be a guy who gets sprinkled in because he's pushing in practice enough where they give him the opportunity to have a drive here and there. And that would be great. That would be huge for him, because if he does that, if they're doing that with him this next year, it likely means the following year he's going to be the guy.
Well, I'll say this. If you're going to play, enrolling early is a prerequisite to play early as a quarterback. So
yeah, you can't come in fall camp and win.
Nope, he's enrolling early. He's coming from the highest level of Texas football, which is about the highest level of high school football you can find. So he's going to come in as
Lock
possible. And Lock as well, for sure. I want to wrap up here, guys. We're at 35 minutes. I don't want to keep people forever, but I do want to wrap up on the go back to the Minnesota game. We're going to have all offseason talk about next year's quarterbacks and the recruits and all that. And believe me, we will. I want to just kind of kick it back around the table, and any other players, plays, moments. I talk about turning points every week, about like the moments in a game that turn it. What else do you guys have on this game that's kind of in your head right now? I have a couple of players that specifically outside of Braelon Allen I wanted to talk about.
Ben Barton coming up with a big sack. Forkery, I thought actually had a solid game. I think he's really grown into his role. Yeah, Rajiv doesn't he's taking over for Alex Smith. Hallman obviously had a great game. Had another pick. I think he's leading the Big Ten in picks at this point with 6. So he's another guy that we have to question whether he'll be back. He's draft eligible, and for a guy that has physical tools as some limitations, he probably will never have higher draft stock than what he has right now.
For me, I think that, the receivers, I think that it was nice to see Chimere Dike get back in the action a little bit today. I was glad to see him come back from his injury. Will Pauling once again just shows us that he's the best receiver we have. It was a great touchdown catch to him in the corner of the end zone. And I think defensively, we have to just talk about Hunter Wohler. We always have to talk about Hunter Wohler. He is the heartbeat of this defense. And once again, I'm so glad he played, because had he not played, I don't know what we would have looked like. But I think overall there were so many players that had good games. I think Zachman had a good game, other than the horrible dropped interception that he absolutely should have caught. But I think he played well. And I will give it to the linebackers too. Yes, the first drive we kind of got gashed, but I thought Muma made some big plays. I think Turner made some big plays. I think Getz played pretty well. I think there are a lot of players who played better in this game than they've played all season, which is why we're the first time we've been up by 14 points since September. So, it shows.
I think the Getz take is good. I thought that was about the best game of his.
Yeah.
I don't want to say career, because that's going back. It's feels like 7 years.
And he wanted it. You could see how bad he wanted it. He wanted this game.
I thought he played really well. That Jordan Turner punch fumble, that was the last gasp for Minnesota. Yeah. Really, that deep throw.
Yeah, that was the crusher.
That was
you could just feel the air leave the stadium the second that happened.
A couple people mentioning Curtis Neal, Logan Couch, Kurt Neal. He played pretty well as well. Adam Otto, Curtis Neal. So a couple of those. I thought, it was nice to see the tight ends get involved a little bit. I thought the offensive line, Nowakowski with a touchdown, Rucci with a big catch. That was nice to see. I just overall felt pretty good, guys. It's, again, Minnesota's not good, but neither are we really, and we kind of handled them on the road in a game they absolutely needed. So
yeah, after the first quarter, it felt like we controlled this game the rest of the game.
And Hallman with his 6th pick. How many times? That's pretty amazing, quite frankly. Nobody would have predicted that before the season for Rico.
Yeah, it was great to see him get another one. He's really been steady Eddie for us out there. Obviously we all talked about Alexander Smith and how we've been unhappy with the way he played, but Hallman's been our guy, and he once again showed up when it mattered.
By the way, I saw you grimace, Rajiv, when it came to Forkering. He had a sack today, and he closed on a 3rd and short where he quickly made up the ground and tackled the guy short of the first down.
He also had to, but there were also I'm not trying to focus on the negative here, but the pass interference calls, come on, man, turn your head around, please. Look for the ball, because those are in fact interceptions. If you do that, and they turn into PIs. And the sack was great. It was from the blind side. And so too often this year, when the quarterback's seen him coming, he whiffs. So I'm glad he got it, and I think he played okay. But the PI calls, we need an upgrade at cornerback. Okay, we need an upgrade. That's not good enough. Our cornerback play was not good enough.
Wisconsin cornerbacks have a long and illustrious history of not getting their heads turned back to the ball and getting pass interference calls. Yeah, it's what we do.
So frustrating.
It's true. Or at the very least, like the frustrating thing of Corcoran, and this happened to him in the Ohio State game too, it's like just don't get beat so badly that you're not running into people. Like that we just got done. We talked about this. We got done watching the Michigan Ohio State game, then we turned on the Wisconsin Minnesota game, and it's like a different game. Yeah. Like the athletes that we saw in the first one, and then you watch us in Minnesota play. We have a long ways to go to get to that point. We all acknowledge that.
Yes. You're right. I mean, watch that game. I think I was texting about a tackle that was made by one of the middle linebackers for Ohio State. I'm like, we don't have anyone on our team that's going to make that tackle. The athleticism that that team played with. By the way, what a great game! What a great game to watch. I always like watching the game, and it was a spectacle today.
Zach Bartz, Jack Nelson had no penalties. Instead, he transferred his penalties to the defensive secondary. Well, you know what? I'll take that. I'm going to go out there and I'll give him a thumbs up this week and see. It was nice to see Jack Nelson get away unscathed from me. So
Jesse,
there was no yelling during the game about him.
They played pretty well. Like Minnesota
did.
You compare and contrast how our defense hit Kaliakmanis. I just can't.
Kaliakmanis.
I'll call him AK. And listen, Mordecai did not have that type of pressure on him for the most part all game.
And for as much as Mordecai holds the ball longer than we want him to, the pass protection was always there. He was able to escape, and he did that a time or two. But when you're sitting back there for 4 or 5 seconds, you should already be hit. And the fact that he wasn't, that the O-line did a great job, no doubt.
This is from Ryan Arnold, one of the many Ryans on the show. Aren't we glad we didn't win the Big Ten West Championship? Would have been brutal. No, I'm not.
We're not. I'm not glad about that at all.
I want the swing. I know we're not going to beat. I know we wouldn't beat Michigan, but I want to take the puncher's chance. I just do. That's just who I am. And it is what it is. I would have wanted the shot, even though I know we would have got outclassed.
Especially after we went up to the Ohio State game and we were in that game into the fourth quarter. I mean, anything can happen. I said before the season started, it's one game. Like anything can happen. We were not that far off from beating Ohio State and Madison this year. So yeah, it's very disappointing. I will always look back at the season and say, the West, in the condition that the West is in the last year the West is going to exist, it is a colossal disappointment that we did not win the West. That will always stick with me. This game softens a lot of the pain, but that's still there. And this is a division it's unacceptable that we didn't win the West, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, Indiana and Northwestern, you've got to be kidding me.
Honestly, yeah. We should have won. I'm not happy that we didn't make it, and a lot of that has to do with also the fact that I'm not happy with the representation that we had from a football standpoint this season. I know I don't speak for myself, and that I expected this team to be a lot better than they were this year. And so, looking at this is, if we would have been what we kind of expected, we probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't be a walkover game against Michigan. I didn't expect them to beat them, but I expected us to be competitive in that game, and we weren't remotely close to that level. And so, yeah, it's a letdown. I would have loved to have had a game where we had a puncher's chance of going head to head with Michigan and potentially taking them out, but it didn't happen. And yeah, I guess from that standpoint, I'm okay with just having the extra time to prep on our bulwark and let our coaches recruit, because that's one of the underlying pluses of this. Rather than focusing on a week to get ready for Michigan, these coaches can now all focus on the players that are going to be committing or signing off on December 20th. And there's guys that they have that they need to make sure are locked in.
That's true. That's a good point.
So they have time to go see those guys. They have time to go take care of a lot of visits and everything else to get that stuff taken care of that they definitely needed the time for.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we're going to spend a ton of time this offseason talking recruiting, transfers, roster management, all of that. So I think we'll wrap it up there. We got the axe. Mm-hmm. Like, guys, we beat Minnesota. Fleck's not going bowling. It's a good day.
I would like to just say, since the season's officially over now, which is sad, just want to once again say thank you to everyone for all the support of Locked On Badgers and the Bucky Report for Justin and I. And this has been so fun. It's just been, even though we really had some rough games this year and some really rough reaction shows, it's been really good. And how many people, tune into us live and the comments and all the feedback and all the interaction and going up to Madison. And we're looking forward to doing this, again. So thank you to everyone.
That's well said.
Yeah.
On Wisconsin, guys, and we'll talk, absolutely continue talking later. Check out the Bucky Report with Justin Rajiv. We'll continue talking on Locked On as well. And with that, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.